Welcome to Black and Gold Digital Edition, a behind-the-scenes look at your Pittsburgh Steelers.
Hi, and welcome to week 2 of our digital show. I'm Jay Pushkar alongside Mike Fenner and the master of trash talking and one-sentence zingers, Kent Urbanski. And I'll explain real quick as far as our trip to Orchard Park, New York. And Kent, what a sight it was for week 1 of the regular season. The fan base for both sides came out in full force. It was a great atmosphere, but better yet, a big win for the Steelers on the road.
Yeah, I've never been prouder to be proven wrong. You know, made that trip, like I said, it made that trip back to the station more pleasurable than coming off of a loss. And I was shocked that the Steelers went up there, hostile environment, week 1 with a crazy fan base going and coming out of there with a win.
It was just so electric. It was nice. Gave us all the goosebumps that we missed back in 2020. 2021 off to a good start for the Black and Gold, Mike. And boy, what can you say about the Steelers' performance? It wasn't very good in that first half, but when they needed to in that second half, every element really shined when it had to, especially in that fourth quarter.
Complete team win, just enough. I mean, all these guys complimented each other just enough. I mean, again, you could pick apart and say the offense wasn't great. You could say the defense had some spots where they didn't play well. But both came through when they needed to, and they absolutely had to have those plays, and then special teams contributing in a major way in that fourth quarter that completely turned this game upside down.
Yeah, I was kind of shocked because, I mean, I knew right around halftime when I said to myself, they're letting the Steelers stay in the game. You know, Josh Allen missed them on some deep throws that could have put that game away real early, and he didn't hit on those. Just left enough room for the Steelers to gain some confidence, make some adjustments at halftime, in which they did, and pull out to win them. You know?
Yeah, that Steeler defense, I mean, Buffalo moving the ball, but it was going from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line. They never broke, and they forced Buffalo to kick field goals. And as you mentioned, it bought Pittsburgh enough time offensively to get themselves back in the game.
The tone setter, I think, was responding to the opening kickoff.
Yeah.
Isaiah McKenzie goes 75 yards. You think Buffalo set up in great territory, and Pittsburgh's like, 3. We're not gonna give up a touchdown trip here. I mean, that was huge. I think that really set the tone for the day defensively, and they weren't gonna just give up easy points that way. So that was a huge start for them.
And Kent, what about T.J. Watt? For the week that he had, all the speculation, will he or won't he be able to sign the contract? Will he even play week 1? He gets the deal done hours before kickoff, and then all of a sudden he has one of those best performances to start a season.
Yeah, I mean, I was even surprised at how well he played and didn't need the rest and didn't need from not practicing full. I mean, he's a professional athlete.
Sure.
He's in great shape, but there's a difference between that kind of shape and game shape and hitting. And he didn't miss a beat. He was a crazy man out there. I mean, it's. He earned every bit of the money in that contract, I think, and all the pros in the media were saying that he's going to need to live up to that, and he has. He's an animal on the field.
And speaking of the postgame, even Ben Roethlisberger said that, you know what, tongue-in-cheek, he says this, preseason's overrated.
Right.
So, I mean, this is coming from a veteran guy that, you know what, maybe I don't need all the reps like some of the younger guys do or guys that are trying to make the roster, but it does have a little saying that, you know, maybe TJ had that little extra energy, not having to go through a grueling preseason.
Yeah, he was ready to go in that show, but it's just not him. Everybody kind of stepped up. Even that in the defensive backs really showed up.
Cam Sutton was huge.
Sutton, you know, made some great plays, and they did their homework watching tape on the Bills and shut down some of those plays. Made them one-dimensional in that game, I thought. You know, the running game for Buffalo picked up later in the game when I think they were just getting some junk yards. But they almost forced them into that dink and dunk that the Steelers were doing last year, and were ready for that. So, you know, I give credit for on both sides of the ball. And I thought the offensive line did a pretty good job, too. And I was worried that there was going to be a lot of penalties on the offensive line. Most of that came in and went against the Bills in their own home stadium. So,
well, it was certainly a party-like atmosphere in the locker room. The Steelers had the day off on Monday. They regrouped on Wednesday as they got back to work, as they now turn their attention to the Las Vegas Raiders. What a home opener this is going to be. And Mike, it's so interesting, regardless of what the record is, when these two franchises get together, you know, it could really be a spoiler for whoever is trying to have bigger aspirations down the road.
As we heard from Tim Benz in our standard show, the 5 out of the 7 matchups going to the Raiders since 2006, and again, games that really have cost either the Steelers a playoff spot or playoff slots in terms of the positioning. So you'd think, this team can't really sneak up on them, and now you definitely don't think so because the Raiders performed well Monday night, an overtime win. Their crowd was raucous there, opening, having that full crowd back there at that new stadium for the first time, and they win in overtime against Baltimore, a team that we expect to be in the mix, if not one of the best teams in the AFC. So, yeah, it's a great opportunity here for a shootout type game. We're hoping for after the Buffalo game. I think we could see more points. Maybe Roethlisberger airs it out a little bit more, and these guys can generate some more offense. I want to see the running game get going too with Najee Harris because. Even though they got the win, I mean, Buffalo's run defense, that's going to be one of the tougher matchups that Pittsburgh sees. So I think this could be more of an opportunity to get the ground game going and get some more rhythm with the offense.
And I think you almost have to because, you can score points throwing the ball, but to win games, you need to run the ball.
Yeah.
Especially late in the game. If the Steelers have a lead, you're going to need Najee to eat up some of that time.
And that's what Buffalo couldn't do.
Right,
they had the lead. They couldn't preserve that lead because they couldn't run the ball, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even some of the play calling was very suspect, too. They're going to go for it on 4th down, and then the play call to try to execute that play it certainly backfired, and Pittsburgh was able to benefit from it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, in this coming game here, I think, what might be the tell of the tape here is what defense creates the most turnovers and gives field advantage to the offense. That's what it's going to come down to here. And with the Steelers, Week 1 at home, that place is going to be crazy. I'm looking forward to going there for that. I can't wait.
How dangerous of a matchup is this, though? Because it's a short work week for the Raiders. They have to come across the country for a 1 o'clock kickoff, and then you combine that, as you mentioned, it's the home opener. There's going to be a lot of built-in adrenaline for the Steelers that, there's that formula that they could come out a little bit flat like they did last week.
And they went into overtime, so they got dinged up a little bit. The Steelers are fairly healthy going into this game, too, but that could also be, a team coming in here beating a Ravens team and feeling a little bit that they have an edge, and not afraid of the Steelers. So I'm looking forward to that matchup with their defensive ends and still a young Steelers offensive line.
And Mike, you and Kent were down at practice on Wednesday. What kind of vibe did you get out of practice, knowing that they had a couple days off and it was deservedly so, but how do they feel going into this matchup?
R&R for the right guys because, again, with the way that they treated the preseason, it was a huge ramp-up game in that Week 1. So you're going to have guys that really need to take the foot off the gas there for a day or so and just kind of regroup because that's such a huge, Week 1 test. But I just think that it's obviously a great vibe around the team right now going into this matchup. I'm interested to see, how this rush defense looks once again because the Raiders really didn't, establish the run too well. They had 82 total rushing yards in the Monday night game, but 31 of those came on the opening drive on a trick play run from Marcus Mariota, and he's not going to be available. He's one of the guys dinged up. Gerald McCoy on the defensive line, out for the season for the Raiders, as you alluded to with some of the guys that are dinged up there. But Josh Jacobs was kind of held in check. I just think the Steelers have to be feeling confident after what they did against Buffalo's ground attack. Maybe they can replicate that against the Raiders this week. But, of course, Darren Waller, I mean, that guy's a problem. 10 catches, over 100 yards, 19 targets. I'm going to say it ad nauseum, but 19 targets in Week 1 against the Ravens, and he is easily one of the top 5, but I'd say one of the top 2 or 3 tight ends in football and a guy that is a matchup nightmare. So that's going to be the biggest key for the Steelers on defense. But I think this week that's got to be one of the biggest talking points.
Yeah, I think if you keep him in check, though, I mean, he'd almost need to score 4 touchdowns against you to beat you individually, and I don't think the Steelers will let that happen.
Yeah. Bottom line, how does this one shape up?
I think it's going to be a close game, as I picked on the show. I think it's going to be a close game, but I think in the fourth quarter, Pittsburgh's going to be playing from ahead, and I'm interested to see how they run the ball with that lead in my estimation of how this goes. I think that's going to be the biggest test, is to see how they can handle it, not having to come from behind like last week, and I think that's going to be the difference, is they're going to be able to use that offensive line, run game, and finish it off at home.
I don't think the Steelers blow them out by any means, but I do think the crowd advantage is going to help them. They're going to get a defensive turnover.
I agree.
That's going to help them. So I'm looking for a 10-point swing for the Steelers at home.
Yeah.
It's almost like Minkah Fitzpatrick is due for something like that, to maybe have a pick 6 in a game and really fire up the fan base.
I'm looking for a T.J. Watt QB strip sack return for 6.
I always saw the special teams unit do it. Might be the defense this time around.
That's right. So,
all right, guys, thanks so much, as always, for Mike Fenner and Kent Urbanski. I'm Jay Pushkar. Thanks for tuning in. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks for watching. Join us again next week for Black and Gold Digital Edition.